I think tonight is a little different than normal nights because, frankly, it's quite a lackadaisical evening on a Saturday night. Very warm weather up here in Ontario, Toronto, Canada. You're looking at my Danio Chopraes. Yes. Celestichthys Choprae. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but these fish have really started to look good. Now, when I got them, they were young, and they didn't look this nice. But for some reason, they are really starting to show color. So the little history on them is I got enough of them to create a nice little colony. They do good in numbers. Most fish do well in numbers. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Team Aquatics and Karnak. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, just so you know, I did get a new phone. So we're experimenting tonight with a new phone. And it's a later model of the Samsung, so it's an Android. Not one of those Apple products. But this one's supposed to have some good cameras on it, at least some lenses that might work. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't clean this before, so I should have. But I wasn't really anticipating doing a live stream. It's sort of spur of the moment to test out the new camera. And what we've been doing is I finally got rid of the other fish that were in this particular tank. So I decided I would try the Chopraes without any other fish with them. And the reason why was because I thought I would grow out some rams with them as well. That was a big mistake. If you put rams in this kind of a tank, you'll notice that the breeding mop or the breeding trap that we're using over here is where the rams do their hunting. Yes, rams are micro predators. And Steve Scheller Aquatics is with us. Thank you so much for joining. So this little contraption from Blake's Aquatics has worked for me. Maybe not in the numbers I was expecting, but that's not in the contraption. That's not in the actual trap itself. What is happening is that depending on what you put in the tank. Now this is a 20-gallon long, and a good number of these fish are in here, males and females. And at first I put just a certain ratio. I threw in more males and then just a few females, and I did get results. So there's no question about it. Then I decided recently, I think it was last week, no, not last week, maybe within the last 2 weeks, I decided to put all of them together, even if there's maybe more females than males. I wanted to see what would happen. So here we are. We are looking at them, and I noticed that when I had other fish in the tank, I wasn't getting much of a results. And I think they were preying on the eggs that were laid, or probably, as most fish do, especially barbs. If you ever have any barbs, they will just gobble up. They know when they're breeding. And so these fish will just be breeding away, not even paying attention to anything about life because they're doing their joyride. And then all of a sudden, poof, the other fish swoop in, eat the eggs, and you're out a bunch of fish. But I love these little danios. Now I have years ago when I was a kid had some zebra danios. I like those. They're just run-of-the-mill zebras, and everybody has them. Not much there, but there's something about these that really they really look nice. They're always active, and so I also like them because if I had plecos in the bottom, I think I could put plecos in here, like some ancestors. And in fact, there is an ancestors. Now that I think about it, there is one in here. There he is, yeah, behind the heater. And there's one in there. I guess it was meant to. It's right behind the heater, hiding away. And it's not going to bother anybody. But being very bottom, these fish are more active in the upper stratus of the tank. Now, one of the reasons why I even have these more inexpensive fish is basically they're not a big money producer, but they are fun to have, and they are an egg layer, an egg scatterer. So I am learning about this egg trap. What happens is if this is the only grassy spot in here, I'm expecting the fish to go there to lay their eggs, and they do. They fall through the grate. If you can see right here, there's a grate. And then the air coming into this tube is a riser, and it's just pushing the water into, and the eggs along with it, they get sucked up into this contraption. Now this week was interesting because I didn't think this, after I did this, I didn't think there was much going on. I kept looking in here, I didn't see any babies, anything. But then during the about middle of this week, I look, and up at the top is a whole group of Chopraes just hanging out. And I'm like, I didn't catch that. You know, they spawned and then they were producing, and there they were, and I didn't even notice. Red Lasers joined us. Shady Grady, thank you very much. Yeah, they're down under these contraptions. If you have a need for such a thing, I have one in business right here, and I got another one that you have to put into business. But here's what I do. I just take when I see the babies in here, I just siphon them out into a jar, or in this case, this week I used the tubby. So going over here to the tubs, this is interesting. I'm doing a water change right now. I forgot I was in the middle of doing a water change. Let's see if we can see them. I put them in here. There's some. See one? Do you see one? But there's about 6 or 7. Let me go towards the top. Bring the camera to the top of the water level. Let's see if we can see anything. These tubbies are great. They're like 2-liter water bottles, but they're not tall and skinny like a. There's a couple right there. See? You can see them moving around. So there's several in here. So they did very well. All I did was siphon them out, put them in here, and now it's time to refill. So the way I'm going to refill is, in this case, it's not too bad. I can just take some. I'm just going to take some water from. I'm just going to refill some. And I fill it back usually to about there. And that's because that's where the maximum surface area. If I fill it any higher like this one, it starts going up the neck of the container. And if it's up the neck of the container, then that isn't going to be very helpful. So I'm just grabbing that bottle. I spilled a bit of water all over me, but oh well. So now, new racing loft. Wow. Shelter Aquatics. Is that true? New racing loft? Do you have pigeons? Huh. New racing loft. How come I didn't know that? Well, that's very interesting, Steve, because I don't know if you know this, but I am the record holder for flying tipplers in the United States. I have been the U.S. record holder for flying tipplers since 1992. There's nobody that's beat me, and the record still stands. You can Google me, and if you type in pigeons and tipplers, in fact, you will find that I am, in fact, the record holder. Nobody's beat me yet. So, in competition of pigeons, that's just another little side point. I did not know that. Wow, you and I have so much in common. It's unbelievable. Of course, I don't have any birds at the moment, but they are always in my heart. Yep. Training and flying tipplers to me is a passion. But now I'm breeding tropical fish for the moment, and as you can see, just to give you an update of what's going on, this is a batch, and I want to point out something important. This is a batch of angels, platinum angels in fact, and they are wigglers, But there is a lot of shall we say, fungus that kind of developed from some of the eggs that didn't hatch. But the fry, there's so many fry that I wasn't too worried about it. But I'm going to have to remove, and that's a little tricky. I will use my glass plate from IKEA to do that, to really just sort out and get rid of the fungus. And the reason why is because this is what happened. On this batch, they had some fungus and they hatched, but they never went free swimming. I lost the whole batch. Right now they're still here, but there's nothing really alive anymore, because the fungus eventually took them over, and it killed the fry. So unfortunately, that is just sad. Thank you, Shady Grady. That's very nice of you to mention that. Yeah, it is a true fact. You can Google, but yeah, I love training pigeons. I never had the racing type. Sounds like you do, Steve. I didn't have those. When I was a kid, I had the tipplers down at my house, and down about 5-6 houses down, a gentleman there had the racing birds. So we knew each other and would often share things. But I think he's passed away many years ago. And this, my friends, Sandy, you're just in time. We are looking at black ram fry. Now, some great news about black ram fry. These fry are doing superb. And these were in a tubby, and I just moved them to this breeder box only after they started getting the baby brine shrimp. So now I'm feeding them limited quantities of baby brine shrimp. And I use that hatch rate is way down from a month ago. I don't know. You know what? That's a very... I like that question, Dee Dee. And thank you for joining tonight. You know, I'm going to tell you something about the shrimp cysts. I have... what I do is you can see up here, a limited quantity for the week. So I just filled it up tonight. So that bottle there stays in the fish room, and it's not frozen, right? But I'm right here doing the bottles, and tonight I'll have to do another 1.5 teaspoons. I do that twice a day, so I'm really running about, I would say 3 teaspoons. I'm going to drop down to 2 teaspoons per day. It's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. That's a lot. That's 2 of these every day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. But this is the one I just did. So I want to tell you something, and that is, they can go bad, but in the freezer, if I keep them in the freezer, and they last me 2 months. So if 2 months, how old are they originally? That's the important thing. When you get the can, you need to mark on the can the date, like put on the date when actually you opened the can. And so then what happens is your amount drops, or your rate of hatch starts to drop if they're too old or haven't been kept in a dehumidified area, shall we say, or what's the word, dry. They got to be kept dry. They can't get wet. So now I have a can. It's not here. I moved it. I used to have it here, but it was a can that came from the fish room of Mr. Wilson. And would you believe it? This can looks like it's 15-20 years old. And I took the eggs that were in this can and I hatched some. They still hatched. I was surprised if any would hatch, and some did hatch. So isn't that interesting? They do hatch, and I'm a little shocked that they do hatch, but they do. And so, you know, if you have a sudden drop off, or a large change in the amount, DD, that is a percentage hatch, I would look at some of the other factors first. I would definitely look at the exact salinity that you have and what you're trying to do. Let me see if I can remember this. I use the exact same amount every time. So I have it, I know it's marked on this thing. I know what it is. There we go. It's marked right there. So, looks like it's gotten dirty. It's being splashed by the thing, so it's got salt on it. But right in here, 1.026. No, wait a minute. Right down here. I'm reading it wrong. 1.020. So 1.020. If you're in this range right here, you're fine. That's good right there. And and if it's a little higher, a little lower, they seem to do just fine as well. So you can use this thing to test your salinity for the concentrations, but once you find the right amount, stick to it and keep using that same amount. Like, for example, what I'll do is I have a scoop, and the scoop is it's inside there, you see, a plastic scoop right there. And I know that's like 2 tablespoons. So I'm putting in 4 tablespoons for a 2-liter bottle. That's about what I'm using. That's coarse, just plain coarse salt that you buy from the grocery store. And it's I use non-iodized only because that's what I can get. I don't know if iodized salt actually affects anything. I've had people say, "Oh no, don't use salt with iodine in it." They say that, but nobody has proven to me that there's a marked difference. And so I've talked to other people like Greg Sage and others who say, "Oh no, you got to use iodized salt." And, everybody's saying like different things about the iodine, but what I see is whether I use it or not, it's exactly the same output that I'm getting. So I don't put my worries in whether it's got the iodine in it or not. But continuing our Black Ram update now, what I did was I took what you're seeing here is a pretty decent batch. Now, Steve, I know you probably have you get nice batches when you do it naturally with your parents and all, but the parents to these in FA1 were actually not so experienced. They were kind of young, so I don't trust them. Eggs here today, eggs gone tomorrow. You know what it means. So this particular batch, what I did was I divided them up into thirds. This is about 1/3 of the batch. The other third is in here, but they all died out. Now that's the same this is the same batch from the same parents, but these guys were just like these in a tub. In fact, they were just like these. These are FA2. This is the tank next to them. They are free swimming today. I've already put some Paramecia in here. As you can see, they're pretty strong. This is a good strong batch. When I see them swimming like that, they're strong. There's a lot of them. I am ready from this batch. I think I've already removed half of these. Yes, I have. We're going to go look at the other half. This is half a batch, so I don't put all my eggs in one basket. So before they become free swimming, they were on the plate. I took a bunch out. These are the ones that were left behind. And as you can see, there's a good number of them. I'm surprised there's so many. I wasn't expecting so many. We're going to have to start feeding them some vinegar eels. And I will feed them vinegar eels and Paramecia, maybe some microworms, but I will keep it constant for the next 2 weeks. But limited amounts. Don't overdo it. I'm finding that if you overdo it, you will kill off your fish. That's what I have found. And these guys are looking good. They got to have the vinegar eels because some of them are at the top. Vinegar eels they have to go to the top to get air. So they're always swimming through the water column, up and down. And so the vinegar eels are ideal. That's why I use them. and this is FA2. Okay, this is when I was down, when these guys were down to like the last 3 or I think there were 5 or 6. I just said forget this, they're just dying. And I had put as a trial as much of detritus, and I was trying to produce an environment where they could get food and leaves, decaying leaves and plants, and I was just trying that to see if it would help or improve, and it didn't. They didn't do well. But when I had them in the tubby, which is a little more volume of water, and 2 liters of water, they did very well. And once they were on the baby brine shrimp, I moved them into here so I can pay closer attention, and they are getting the water drip. So they're dripping here because the water drip is important. You need the constant drip of fresh water so that the water never becomes stale, never goes bad. Let's go take a look at the other third of those batches. Now they're up here, and what I did was I took some tanks, and this is quite interesting. Here is let's look at FA1, the first one. This is the third that is not over at the nursery. This is the third of them that were put into a tank. This is a 5.5 gallon tank. And let's see. I didn't see the comments. Sorry about that, Dee Dee. So it could be opening and closing them back in the freezer. So I have a plastic lid on my can, and it seals it up. So I open it up, I seal it back up, and I also like to put the can into a like a gallon Ziploc bag. I just do everything I can to keep it as moisture free as possible. And if they're in there a month, that's nothing. I go 2 months or more, not a problem. I kept my store in the fridge. Better than left out. Discovered the hard way. Yeah, Jeff, you're right. You know, it's definitely better than sitting it out. But you see, I go through so much that I sit it out like for only 1 week at a time, max. Refrigerator. And then your Lumpy Dog, what Lumpy Dog is doing is just keeping them fresh the last 2 months or so before they're used up. So that's a good point. If you keep them fresh, you know, you go through them and then you're rebuying, and you know, and that's true. Yeah, could be. So 1 teaspoon of sea salt in a liter. Yeah, 2 liters. So 2 tablespoons. 1 tablespoon. I think you need to measure the amount of salt, and if it's 1 tablespoon, you know, that can. I'm pretty sure the scoop I use is a 2 tablespoon. We'll find out. We'll just test this out in a minute. I used iodized salt once or twice. Aquatic mousse. Okay. Yeah, I never see any difference. So yeah, worked just fine for aquatic mousse. Yeah. I don't think it's. I don't think fish have thyroid problems like humans, and that's why we do it, right? But hey, you know, if you're worried about it and you feel like, oh, I got to use the uniodized ones, then great. Okay, do bristlenose ever eat the eggs? No, you mean their own eggs, or do you mean the eggs like the one I have in with the Choprae? So okay. So Shady Grady is like me, 2 tablespoons for 1 liter, and so I use a 2 liter bottle, and that's why I use 4 tablespoons. Yeah, the baking soda. The reason I used to use a pinch of baking soda, and the reason why is because it causes the water to be more alkaline, and so to get the perfect conditions, they should be in very alkaline water. If your water out of your tap is on the alkaline side, you really don't need to use the baking soda, but you could, and that's interesting because here I haven't even. I used to use it all. I used it up. The baking soda is just. I stopped using it, and I saw no difference in the amount of that they were going. So So okay, he is talking about the bristlenose. Do they ever eat their fry? Okay, well that's Jeff says they can. Yeah, if you want to maximize, sometimes it's just other things they get. I don't know. If you can pull them and put them in their own tank or in their own breeder box and give them their own green beans, the French cut style, that always works best, and then they just thrive on it. Anyway, back to the black rams. So we're in this first group here, and I'm focused on it. That these guys, these are the third, and they did so great in this tank. It was a dirty tank. It had some it had a pair of rams in it. Then it had some of the banded what would we call the pentazona barbs and a ram, and I never really cleaned it out, so there was a lot of detritus. So I said, we're getting desperate. I don't like to have batches of black rams die off. So we're going to give this a try. So I put them in here. You can see I just set the plate down, and they were in the plate. And they've stuck around here in the corner, and they're growing on the baby brine shrimp. But I don't overfeed the baby brine shrimp. I feed these guys only twice a day. Maybe 3 on the weekends, because I'm here. And I give them just a minimal amount. Now, I will give them vinegar eels and the other things initially, but right now I'm not even doing that. I'm just the baby brine shrimp. Look at them grow. They're doing great. And there's only in this batch, about 5 or 6 that are gold. See the gold ones? And the rest are doing great. So I'm happy about that. A little younger is these black rams. These are from FA2 again. This is the other half. Remember I said I took half of them out. So half are in the breeder box. Let's see if we can find the ones here. They're also in the corner right here. They're doing well. They're a little younger. Let's see, by how much? 9 days. May 20th to May 29th. There's 9 days difference. These are 9 days younger. But they're looking good. I mean, when I see this, now I know when my black rams die off, they look pathetic. They're like laying there. They just wiggle on the bottom. They're resting a lot because they can't swim. They're going to the top and they're just fading. But when I put them in a dirty tank like this with algae and other stuff, they're getting all kinds of little micro stuff to feed on during the day or whenever. They're getting a lot. So honestly, these fish are going to make it. I can tell you that right now. They're going to make it. And now, the big thing I see is that, okay, in the tubby it's 2 liters. This is a 5.5 gallon. And I was going to take the filter out in the back, but I ended up not doing it. Just because, I don't know, they all kind of tend to stay over here in this corner, and I didn't have any issues. So, question. Is the volume of water probably a priority? What is your take on it? I'd like to hear the comments from Sheller Aquatics, who has a lot of experience on these black rams. I think it makes a huge difference. I think it makes a big difference. So from now on, I'm going to test doing that. So here, like for example, I have 1 pair of German blues in this tank. Gorgeous fish. They're really looking good. I had them separated for a little while because he was not doing well with her, but then I decided what I'm going to do is put them back together, but whether or not they lay or not, they will come out of here, and then this tank will become the next black ram fry. So this is a well-established tank. It is not like just using tap water. I'm going to use this for black ram grow out. What do you think of these beauties? Nice pair. I always have some really nice breeders too, but nobody seems to express a lot of interest in the German blues. They're welcome. I do have some. I guess I don't advertise either. So behind me, I have some fry. Nice huge batch. Let's take a look at the German blues. From up here, you can see it looks quite different in the fish room when I'm standing on the stool. my little stool. Over here is 4-gallon tanks. This batch is ready to go to the grow out center tomorrow. They are obviously red koi short fins. They've outgrown this tank. It's time to move on. Here's the German blues I was just saying. I lost a lot of these when I first put them in here because I put them in here too early. The tank hadn't really settled down into a nice pattern of nice pattern. Clean water, but a dirty tank seems to work for me personally. Thank you, Steve. You confirmed what I was thinking. I'm finding that too. A dirty tank has all kinds of goodies for the fish to work with, and of course, nice clean water. Yeah. Right now they're very small, but I'll be doing something about that. These German blues, even though a lot of them died off initially when I put them in this tank, the rest that have remained have done very well. They're growing and really looking good. Now these are a good seller. We always have a market for those. Here it looks like another batch of platinum angels. And crud, I didn't feed them since earlier today, and yet they always look like they just got fed. And tomorrow they've outgrown. This is another batch of red koi. But I'll tell you something about this batch. Interestingly enough, these are all longfin. These came from a cross between a longfin and a short fin, or standard fin. Not short. They weren't short or anything. But these are not quite dime size. They're small. A few big ones in there, but their fins just look awesome. And what is really nice is if I was to get some long fin, I would want them from there. Culls, there's always a few. I'll tell you what. Here's for example one in the corner that we do get some culls. Let me see. Oh, I can zoom in a little bit. Can I? Okay. It's where did it go? Maybe that was the one I was looking at. Just they don't grow at all. But these guys actually. Okay, come on. How do I get the camera back? All right, I think I'm back. There are some culls, but not as many as you would think. They're the ones that are definites. They're called what I call no growers, or they are belly sliders, and you always get like 4 or 5 in there. So out of 150 to 200 fish, there's usually about 5 to 10 that are like that. They will not live. They will not survive in the end. They won't. So it's best to, if you have bigger fish, to feed them as to the bigger fish. If you they become fish food. But I don't see any right now. These are all pretty good. Yeah, the ventral fins. Now, like I'm looking at this batch. There's a couple that have on the ventral fins is what you got to watch in angelfish, but I don't get a lot of those. Depends on the pair, and if you have a pair that's producing a lot of culls, then it's not a good pair. You need to get something a little different. But now in this case, I don't see any culls. I see all the ventral fins look really long and good. There's one that's bent. There was one that was bent here, but that's not bad in the sense that, you know, that's one out of, I don't know how many are in here, 1 out of 100. And what you'll find sometimes, let me kind of get a close look in these. What you'll find is little, the ventral fins in these, looks like sometimes you get just one ventral fin. But I usually pull those as they're growing up. I try to pull those out. But these just need a bigger tank, and these will start growing again. These guys are definitely ready for tomorrow's shipment over to the fish house. So I think Aqua Malik is already. Here's a no grower. See the little guy right there? That might be a no grower, an example. You can tell they just don't even look. Oh, here he is right in front. See? they eat and everything, but look at this. See right here, my finger? See the guy on the bottom? That's a belly slider. See him? Doesn't swim right. That's one that you can't keep. Sad as it is, but it will never survive in nature, neither will it survive in the growing out process. So, but there's just a couple out of this. This tank probably has, this tank might have 200 in it. So that's why they got to move. These guys are starting to get stunted. They're not growing as fast as they could if they were in a bigger tank. So they're going to a 15-gallon tomorrow. And from there, maybe even something else. So that's the greatest news. I really like to look at. I just love these black rams to see how they're doing and growing in the big tank. I don't mind dedicating a tank to them if they're going to survive like this. That's nice. Don't mind at all. All right. Let's take a quick look at. I want to just show you these guys are getting so friendly. West African cichlids. Wow, a blue ram belly slider. Now, did it ever develop into a normal swimming fish? I take from the way you worded it, the answer is no. Now, just to mention, these guys, they're gimpy. No, yeah, these guys are. They're not your normal standard dwarf cichlid, but they're special. There were West Africans, Nanochromis Venestia, something like that. They haven't spawned yet, I don't think, because I don't see the female disappear. Oh, look at who else is out. Here we go with our Cribensis. Not the cribs that are in the normal. This is the true. This is not the pulcher. This is the true Cribensis, or previously known as Taniotis. This is the Bilway variation. Yeah, nice pair. They're cute. I'm waiting for them to spawn. I'm really thinking they will one day. Malik tells me that he has had experience with these in the past, and once they start spawning, they'll do great, and they will just keep at it. But usually that initial spawn is the tough one. Now, tomorrow I'll be bringing some Daphnia to the outdoor ponds, and this is what I've got. I've got in these tubbies, this is the Moena Daphnia, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see any because I just put green water in there. See, down at the bottom you see some movement. See anything? Some zipping around, but they're very tiny compared to these. For example, these are the Magna. They're much bigger. And I got seed shrimp in here. Seed shrimp. I just never been able to get rid of the seed shrimp. But I got the Moena and the Magna Daphnia. But we're going to try to grow the Moena in a very large tank outdoors. So that's the thing. And while I'm here, bent over, I may as well show you the Rosie, the minnows. The males have finally started to show some color. So now I see there's some maturity. I've had these a while, lost quite a few, but I see a lot of activity. As you can see, they're kind of chasing each other, and I think it's time to start setting up a a tank for them or do something special, what I might do is I might remove the plecos that are down below because they're not doing anything in here and I don't have the water parameters right for them. It's too high a pH. I'm going to move them up a tank, and so I have a tank up here that's going to be created for future zebra. I'm hoping to use this for future zebra, so we're going to clean this up a little bit, start the process of making a very low pH tank. And then that will kind of separate the minnows from these guys down here. So if you can see those, I don't even know if you can see them, they're the 471s. Well, that's a little tour. No progress yet on the tanks. These tanks are going to be pulled because I'm just waiting for some time, and I might get it maybe by next week. Next weekend we might be pulling these tanks and start working on the project to replace it with the 4 or 5 gallons. It'd be nice to have 4 or 5 gallons like I have up here, where I can put not only black ram spawns and other spawns. I could spawn fish. I can do a lot with the 4 or 5 gallons. And also, in the shelf space right here, it gives me, I don't know, what is it, like, I don't know how much space that is. It's a good distance away, so that like here, what I've done is put in, as you can see here, I can put it, I could have zoomed out maybe a little bit. Oh, there we go. I've been too zoomed in. So I can put in the breeder boxes and it's not in the way of the corridor, so I can still walk and not knock them over. So there's this little section in front. I have a place to set things. I have the breeder box and I also have the tank. So it's so versatile on a 2-foot rack to use the 5.5 gallons. And let's see, my green water is doing well, and we're going to continue with that. I did try putting in some, oh, I see that little, yeah, let's take a look at the baby pentazonas. There were only about 5 or 6 of them in here, so I put them in with these angels. The angels put them in here with them, and I thought that was a mistake after I did it because they were getting harassed by the, there's one in the back. See right there, that striped fish? There's 1, 2, 3 in the back. I can't focus in the back because the guys in the front are taking all the focus. I'd have to put it on manual focus. I don't know if I can do that while I'm mid-streaming. But yeah, there's about 4 or 5. We did get a very small batch. So this week I had the parents back into the tank. So this tank was with the Pentazonas, Hexazona fry, and I had them in here for 2 or 3 days, but I didn't see any activity. I don't think they're conditioned up enough, so I split them up again. I took them out, but I will wait 1 week, and I will watch for fry, and we'll see if we get any more. It's very hard with the Hexazonas because with them the fry are super secretive, and you almost have to wait till they grow up big enough to spot, because they will hide, and when I think there's nothing I will suddenly see a few, but they don't spawn in large numbers like we've gotten in the other fish. Okay, also new to this fish room is another new fish. I've got a little small colony of hillstream loaches. I picked them up from the grow out, and we're going to put them, we hopefully will have these for a group in here, but there's so many mouths, I don't know if I'm going to get any breeding activity, but they're fun to watch. They're very active, and I really recommend them for a community tank. They're kind of neat. They're sort of like mini They're like a, I don't know what species these are, but they're doing very well. And even I got young ones, medium ones, and some adults. It's kind of a mixed bag. We'll see how well they do, but they're fun to watch. They're active and they get along with other fish. So here's 3 of them right here on this wall. They seem to be always chomping on the algae and cleaning it up. We've got a couple platinum angels in here just to see how they grow out. These were some of the finer picked ones. I wanted to see how well they would do in this tank. I just grow them up. There's 6 of them. The rest of them, of course, in the group, they just poof. These guys just growing up nicely. We'll see. So, lastly, I didn't turn off the dehumidifier. It's 84 degrees in here tonight. I'm sweating terribly. Let me turn that off. I don't know if the fan noise has been bothering you. I didn't notice it until just now. But here is one batch of these. I think these are koi angels, but there's one batch. It looks like one batch here, and then we got some German blues with a black ram thrown in. It was like a survivor from a batch. I think it was from batch 2LB2, and this survived. The rest died out. I only had like 2 or 3, so I said, throw him in with the rest of the German blues and see what happens. And he's doing quite well. Just one. But anyway, this is the same batch. It's the other half. So 2LB6, as you can see here, is growing up nice, and over here as well. And these guys are you see the black on them, you know they're not platinums. You see the black on them, you know that they're the red koi. So got red koi angels coming up, and these as well. But these are from the same batch, but I have 2 large breeder boxes, and I put half in one and half in the other. I had to. They were that many. So we do have, like, for example, there's one batch up here. It's ready to be blown off. I'm going to have to remove. These are all babies just floating. There's not a lot of that one's down on the bottom, but there's not a lot of fungus, so this is good. I may have little work to get the fungus out of there. So, but this is going to be another humongous batch, and they're also red koi. Yep. So, and the Dawn here I use just when I need to. Sometimes I'm doing a microworm, I clean out the bin or something. I use when I have to use detergent and clean out something, I use Dawn. As everybody knows, Dawn is supposedly a lot safer for animals than anything else. I've never had an issue. It's never been a problem. So it's a lot of just general. We've been talking about things tonight. I've shown you a catch up on everything, and I just wanted to do a quick get together tonight because testing out the new phone seems to be working well. We do have some great results here with the mops. So these are my mop, 2.5 gallons. The first tank has 3 mops, and there are small Luminatus fry hanging out, and they're doing great. They're growing, and there's about maybe a dozen, but that's just from the first mop. There's 2 mops still in there ready to hatch, and there's a mop in here. They take about 3 weeks, I think, to hatch. So from the time they're laid, it may take up to 20 days or so. So that's why you have to leave them in there, and then they keep producing babies. But you can't just keep using the same tank, because then the fry that are hatching, newly hatched fry, will be too small, and the bigger ones could cause issues. So after after a week or two of collecting mops, which might be up to, if I'm collecting the mops out of the parents every 2 or twice a week, so maybe 3, it could be up to 6 mops in there, and then I start the next tank. And so there's no fry yet appearing on the surface in this one. But these guys will continue to get Paramecia, so there's always that small amount. And then, of course, as they get bigger, I'm also giving the baby brine shrimp. So we're doing very well with those. Well, let's see. Let's see what we've been doing. We reverse the camera. Okay. Here we go. Welcome to... Oops. Huh. That's different. This one's going... zooming in. Let me try that one more time. Okay. So, here we are. I'm going to check the... yeah, stingray-like. That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to say it because I thought it was kind of like, oh, nobody would believe me. No, but that's kind of like what it is. They're like the rays because they're like a plate. They're like flat. And then they have a little tail, and, they kind of glide along the bottom, or in this case, they suck along the bottom of the rocks. And I like that, so. And what else? Have any questions? Thank you, Jeff. Fish Room is doing well. So tonight, what time is it? Here it's almost 10:25 p.m. I've got a few more things to do to wrap it up for the night, and then tomorrow is the big day. We're going to remove, it looks like 3 tanks of angels, bring them over to the grow out center, and that will free up 3 more tanks and then I start moving fish around from box to box, getting them in bigger boxes and the like. And when we started the conversation, and I see that right now we have 18 people, but only 12 thumbs up. Okay, maybe I need to do better. I'll show you earlier today. This was a little fry I found in the breeder box from the trap, and so I put it in here. I just siphoned it out. See it in there? There's in the back. Nice. Those little, I don't know, can you see that? The little stuff floating around? You see the fry, and do you see the little creatures? I'm impressed with this phone. You know why? Because I don't know if I've ever seen that on camera as well, like this one. Well, maybe with the flashlight. What you're looking at is, if you can see those little stuff, that's Paramecia. That's not. Let me get my flashlight. I'm gonna get my flashlight. Hold on 1 second. I have a flashlight over here, and sometimes when you shine in just the right way from behind, the Paramecia show up. Oh wow, they really do show up. Maybe they're out of focus a little bit and they're kind of blobby, but look at that. Oh, yeah, I put a nice group of, so that little guy is getting fed. Wow. Let's see what it looks like here from the top. Yeah, I'm putting the light down from the top, and you can see the Paramecia. Oh, I think he just took a bite. Look at that. All that food, live food. Now that Paramecia does not die. That's what's really nice is I put this food in for this fry, and I don't have to worry about it for days, because there's plenty of food just swimming about. And then that little guy will just eat away and fill up his tummy. That is a Choprae right from the trap tonight. I was going to just throw him in with the other ones, but you know what? I says, let me give him a chance. I just want to be able to watch him close. I have the jars here ready to go. If I get another batch, I can just, start here. In fact, what I'll do tonight is, let's just, I don't know, I want to just do some fishing. Just go ahead and check the trap. I don't know if we can do that. I guess we can do that from here. Let me see if I can do it from up here. See the trap on my phone? It's gonna fall, isn't it? Okay. I don't have my holder like I normally do. Oh, let me try setting it up here. Setting it up on top of the... Let me go. There we go. Okay, let's see what we get. I'm going to go ahead and take my watch off. One tragedy this week. I will show you my arm. That's the tragedy this week. It's actually healed up quite nice. Just so you wondered what was going on with my arm, I'm not going to stick my right arm in there because it got burned. Now, I had 2 heaters in a tank. And I had these 2 heaters, and one of them was unplugged. And I thought, oh, it's unplugged, So the one I thought was unplugged is the one I pulled out of the water. And I didn't realize that it was really on. So it got super hot, and I was fishing out the fry, and got burned. I felt it, I pushed back, and too late. I had already seared my skin. So, lesson learned. Don't assume it's unplugged just because you think it is. Look and see if the light comes on. So I'm going to take the trap, I'm going to dump it. I'm going to look, I don't see names. Doesn't look like it. So the trap's empty tonight. I dump it the other way. And since I don't see a lot of stuff, usually you can see the eggs right away. And we are fishing for catfish. And my little flashlight, what did I do with it? Put it in my pocket? Yeah, I did. Pull it out of my pocket. Okay, we'll go over there and look. This is what it looks like, the water. So, I don't see any eggs. No. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, just looks like no eggs. They're very obvious when you see them, but I don't see any. They're very big. And also, what you might see is some hatched fry. So, yeah, no catches tonight. But I've been checking regularly, so I wanted to know how often they spawn. I think I will start to write it down on the tank and just have a record of how often they spawn, because these are my catfish. The light is off, and so all you see is a reflection, but let's turn the light on for a second. It won't hurt them. There we go. These are the Synodonus ducipinus, and they will breed. I've seen them breeding actually in the tubes, but I only catch the eggs out of the basket, out of the cave, over the net, over the marbles. That's the only place I get eggs from. But I know I've seen them spawning when they go into activity. They probably lay thousands of eggs, and I only get like maybe 200 out of that thing. Good evening, Carla. Thank you for joining us. Well, that is. Let's see. Let me take a look back. And if there's any more questions we have for tonight. Yeah, Benjamin Peters, welcome. It's good to have you back again. Thank you for coming and hitting the thumbs up and everything. We're going to, we're going to pretty much that will wrap it up for tonight, unless there's any more questions. I've just got a few more things to do. I'm making some more Paramecia. Here's an interesting story. My last batch, I had Paramecia, and in the batch of Paramecia, I was down to the bottom of the bottle, and I had made a previous batch. I'd just followed my instructions, and then the bottles were numbered. They were up there. They were ready for the next round, right? For the next group. Now I've had some orders come through, and one person in particular is mentioning that, well, they can't keep them alive, the Paramecia. And in just reading the message, I get the impression that he's not keeping them alive because he's not remaking the culture. He's actually doing something, maybe adding, he's just trying to keep it going, the same culture. I don't advise that. It never seems to work. However, if you follow the instructions precisely, and every 10 days, make a new set of bottle, new fresh bottle, and I do 2 in case one crashes or one doesn't go, something's wrong. I usually do 2, and plus I like to have some extra for when somebody says, hey, I have a spawn, I need some Paramecia. I always say, no problem, I always have some. So I got down to the very bottom of the container, and I was, before I threw it out, I went and grabbed the other bottle and I looked at it, and it was all white and milky, but there were no Paramecia. Absolutely none. I said, I've never seen a crash like this. And then it dawned on me that in the process of, boiling the seeds, putting them in the container, putting the yeast in, filling the water back up, somehow I forgot to take a small bit of culture from the old culture and put it into the bottles. So the bottles had no Paramecia, and a lot of people ask me, well, why do you need the culture in order to breed this stuff? And I had to explain, and I'm explaining it again to you folks, which you probably all know about, but you can't make something from nothing. Now, what some people have done is taken a sponge filter and they've squeezed it out, and there's some bugs in there and some infusoria, right? Okay, fine. Infusoria. So they throw it in there and they get some culture. But what I'm doing is slightly different, and this is the important part. You saw when I put it in with the Choprae, you saw those little white spots. You saw all the infusoria. They're kind of larger than the regular general average infusoria, so they can be seen with the naked eye, and that's good for you. But also, they're not so big that there's hardly any fry out there, even better fry, that can't swallow the Paramecia. They're single-celled organisms, and they're kind of on the larger side. So that's what's really nice about them. So anyway, my point is, when I saw the 2 cultures, I thought, oh no, all I have left is this little itty-bitty on the bottom. So I took the itty-bitty at the bottom, and I took a small amount and I put it in the bottle that was white and milky and had been sitting there a week, and it looked bad. And I put another in the other one, and do you realize something I learned, which I didn't know before, is that you can, not that I advise it, and I'll tell you why I advise it, you can put the Paramecia in later after it's really promulgated the bacteria, the yeast is grown, and it's, the rotting seeds are causing a cloudy mixture. But when I put it in there, they multiplied, that is the Paramecia, so fast that it was like, boom, overnight. And it was like the best concentration I've ever seen. Now, be that as it may, I wouldn't advise doing it that way because you'll forget. And like me, I know I will forget. So I don't remember, like, for example, if I I know some people do this. The recommendation has been for baby brine shrimp, put the cyst in, and then let it hydrate first before you put the salt, and then put the salt in. Bad idea for me. Bad idea for me, because when I do the first step and I have to remember to come back for the second step, it doesn't happen. I forget. It's like, oh, I was supposed to do that, wasn't I? So for that reason, it's better for me to put it all in together at the beginning, and because I don't see any difference in the real output of the baby brine shrimp. But what I will say is it makes a big difference if you forget. I've had thrown away so many batches where I completely forgot to put in the salt. So it's important to remember, and the best way for me to do it is in the stroke. So the first stroke is egg cyst. Second stroke is that pinch of that baking soda if you're going to do that. And the third stroke is the salt. And you go bump, 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 and then you're done. You put it aside, it percolates, and you get baby brine shrimp in 36 hours, right? So Paramecia the same way. I don't advise doing what I've kind of discovered by accident, because I don't see the point. I'll just let them grow. Because when you put the culture in, at first there's just a limited amount of perhaps food for the Paramecia, and so maybe that's the reason why they grow slower, but in the end you'll still get a high concentration. So I like that method, because if I do the stroke method and I put the water in, I put the rotting seeds, the 5 or 6 that I need to put in there, and then I put the 2 to 3 scoops of yeast, and then I put the little smidgen amount of culture, which you have to have, and then you put it into the container and you fill it up with water to the right line, and you're done. And I just don't want to think about anything else. So that's why I do it. Petricola bob at the top of the water, gulping air like a cory. I know Petricola is like, it's funny you say that, because in the case of my Lucipinnis, which are closely related to Petricola, they do eventually get very friendly. And at first they're very skittish fish, but when they know when it's feeding time, they'll come right up to the surface. They come out and they go upside down along the surface and eat the food at the surface. So they're fun to watch. I'll tell you, there's never a dull moment, okay? I love these fish. Let me just show you this little, sorry. Okay. I love these fish. These guys, always active. And in this particular batch, look at the spots. Ooh, see, zip around. There's some nice looking ones in there. I might just pull them out for myself. I don't know why. Some cuties. These might go over to the... I think these are ready for the fish room. I think these guys are ready. They can go to the grow out center. They're on Dr. Baslier food, but there's a lighter colored one with spots. Definitely worth keeping in for the breeding program. There's a couple of them with lots of little spots. Look at that one right back in there. This one looks nice. See the spots on that? Look at those two. That's neat at such a young age, because when they're at this age, they look kind of banded. They're like blotchy and blanded, but I can see some of them are really looking good. But maybe I'll get some pictures for you guys to see. Maybe I'll get some pictures for you guys to see. There's a tank over at the grow out house with the Lucipinnis, and in the case of the Lucipinnis, what I've noticed is that we have this just like that rock there with a hole in the side, where it's kind of fake rock, but there's a couple of them pasted or glued one on top of the other. And they will start going around and around and around and around in a merry-go-round fashion like this for hours. Don't know what makes them do this. And then it'll be like 3 or 4 of them just chasing one another. It's like a dog chasing his tail. And they do this, and it's a fascinating behavior. And I tell you, it's mesmerizing. You sit there and you look at this, and it's like, wow. So they're fun to have. They're just nice fish. I don't know why more people don't have them, especially if you have African cichlids. They're ideal for African cichlids. That's where they're from, Lake Tanganyika. So, thank you so much, everybody. And Xanadu is with us tonight also. Thank you. Yeah, too much to do. Yeah, okay. Now I'm back to the original petricola question. Okay, first catfish I spawned was the petricola 30 years ago, a little bigger than the Lucipinus, I think, yeah. Well, yes, those are supposedly a little bigger. My large ones are several years old, and they're not, they're like, biggest ones are like that. Biggest ones, I mean, they're big females. They're not going to get bigger than that. I think from the books and what I read is that they can get much larger if they're a petricola, but genetically, I think there isn't much of a difference between the species. And there goes the lights. I've always wanted to test this phone in a darker scenario, see how well it does. Not bad. You can still see my face. So, Alexa, fish room on. Yeah, I'm not finished tonight. So that tells me it's time to go, because now that it's supposedly the time for lights out anyway, I got to get going. But I just wanted to do this little update tonight, let you know what's going on. Still so many things to catch up with, and I still have some things to work out. So thank you all for joining. We're at a peak right now with 23 people and 23 thumbs up. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. And if I didn't see any more questions, my thoughts, I don't know if I answered your question, Steve, about the catfish, but my thoughts are that I have no proof. I have not seen any fish bigger than the ones I have. And these stay 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches max. I would say 4 to 6 inches is the biggest they get. So is that a petricola or is that a Lucipinus? They were sold to me as Lucipinus. I got them from the States, from the from the wet spot, actually. And they were tiny, 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 smaller than the little things behind me. I was amazed at how small they were when they arrived. I was like, these guys, but they're hardy. And so I think I got 10 of them. And out of the last, actually, it was in 2018 I got them. I think it was in 2018. And they grew, and I've had them ever since. And I don't think any have died. If any died, there was one that died from that group that I originally got. I do have another source. I have sourced from 2 different breeders. A second colony, which just sits over here in my 90-gallon. And they're fun to watch. They're nice to have. I think every tank needs to have Lucipinus. Let me show you what they look like. And these Max would get out of the way. I have them with my discus, yeah. They'll come out as soon as I throw food in there. And I put 2 of these little guys, and they zip around. There's actually like 6 from one breeder and 6 from another breeder. 2 different breeders. They're nicely marked and different bloodlines from what I got. There's no way they could have come from the same source, since the 2 breeders I got them from are from around here. And finally, I almost forgot. I got this at the dollar store. These are it's for salad dressing. and I wanted to explain why I got them. My battery's about to go, but I will, before just now, I will go ahead and share with this. I'm glad I had it sitting out. I haven't opened up the box yet, but I wanted to see. When I go to the dollar store, I see things like, oh, how can I use this or that? I got this, for example, $1 squeeze bottle, and what I have in here is Pimafix. It works. It's a really nice product to have. It's an all-natural product. It doesn't harm fish at all, but it gets rid of bacterial infections on the outside of the fish. So when you see a little fin rot or something got nipped or a little fungus going, this stuff naturally, it smells like Melaleuca tea tree oil, and it's very close to like Melafix. It's very close to the same. So I got these things, and I don't know if they're any good. They're little squeeze bottles. I thought, well, it'd be nice, but I actually got them for a different purpose. I was looking for funnel, and I said, these are funnels. Let me see. Because I couldn't find a small funnel. If I can get the lid off, this is a cap that won't go. Huh. I don't think it screws off. Huh. They're stuck on there good. Well. Wow. It is on there good. Okay. So I'm looking for a funnel, and then I realized that's a funnel. Look at that. Now, if you're wondering what I want a small funnel for, I'll show you. This is just an idea. If you're looking for a small funnel, you can't find them. The smallest funnel that I could find is like this one. But as you can see, the hole, and I want to be able to see this lid. I want to be able to feed my Choprae, for example. I have the air going in, and I want to put food in this one. I want to keep it sealed because it's a nice lid, and it's a little strong. I'm going to pull that out a little bit. Okay. So my question is, will it fit here? And the answer is yes. Look at that. Huh. Now I can make a bigger hole for sure, but I wanted to know. Now, I take, it's very helpful. So now when I take, for example, Paramecia, I can put it like right there, and it gets in there without spilling. Because what I was doing before is putting it over the hole, but this, you could see the size of this baster is kind of big. Yeah, I could just make a bigger hole, but I find that keeping it as small as possible is better, only because you just want some air to get out as the air is going in, and I want to be able to feed directly. And anyway, voila, that's how you can get a small funnel. And I don't know about this squeeze bottle thing, so maybe maybe I can find a better deal or a better idea, better use for this as a squeeze bottle. But anyway, just ideas. I like to share ideas that maybe come in handy for your fish room and something to look at. And you find these at the dollar store. All right, folks. Oh, and Jeff, thank you very much. Huh. We're concluding, and there you are, giving super chats. Thank you, very kind. So I hope tonight was helpful for everybody, and I certainly appreciate the group that was here tonight. It was a great group. Could have used a little more questions, I guess. Steve, we're just gonna. I don't remember. I think are you in Michigan or in Minnesota? Are you? How far away are you? I mean, I just got to come see your birds, and one of these days I'm going to have to be in your neck of the woods. That would be an awesome trip. Don't tell my wife. She'd rather go to Cancun. I'd rather go see fish rooms. if you know what I mean. So thank you, everybody, and dollar store is, yeah, a treasure trove of goodies and things. Oh, Utah. Yeah, Utah. That's right, Utah. Yeah. See, I grew up going to Utah, and the reason I say that is because my family would go to Lake Powell. It's on the Utah-Arizona border, and we would go boating there, houseboating for a week. We loved it there. If anybody has ever seen Lake Powell and been there, there's very few places on earth like it. And be out in the desert in the heat and be on the lake. I mean, on the lake in a houseboat is just awesome. So that was my experience. I've gone 5-6 times in my life, and a lot of memories, great memories. So fantastic place to be. And Utah is very unique. Of course, that southern part is just the beginnings of the Grand Canyon area. So it's like the canyons, the walls, the beauty in that part of the state is really nice. I don't know about the more north part, if you're closer to Salt Lake or whatnot, but thank you so much, everybody, and I have enjoyed chit-chatting with you and talking to you, and I've got a lot of great things. And if you're a member of the channel, I will be attempting to do some other member stuff, so I won't say what that is because I'm still working things out. But please, if you're a member, then stay tuned, and if you get that notification, members only, you'll see it, and you can join in. Thank you so much for being a member, all those who are, and thank you for the chats, thank you for the super chats, thank you everybody for everything. And well, we'll call it a weekend, and so I'm going to press on with our if tomorrow I bring the fish over, it's possible that I might just do a little bit of a live stream showing where the fish go when they leave here and how they arrive and where they go. So be on the lookout. If I do just a video of it, then it'll be posted, okay? So that's something you get to see. So how all these little thousands of breeder boxes produce the fish and where they go after this, because obviously they can't stay here forever. Yesterday we went and sold a couple hundred angels at the stores, and we were in Scarborough. Yeah. So good night, everyone, and thank you all for everything. And most of all, whatever you do, keep it real.